Memento, Mori. Remember, you must die. My intention is to share this Stoic philosophy with you so that you can be grateful for the life you've had and make the most of every moment. Raise your hand if you've ever wondered how your life might be different if you had made a different choice somewhere along the way. On a hot roof in the summer of 2001, I was contemplating this very thing. I was remembering back to a sales conference I had been to 5 years previous. The instructor was this just beautiful 6'3" god. He was from the Stephen Covey Institute. All the girls wanted to be with him, all the guys wanted to be him, especially me. Watching the way that he controlled the room, and he stood up, and it was just so confident and powerful, and he had these big videos and music, and right at the right moment, the music would kick on, and he'd get everybody fired up, and watching him, I knew that's what I wanted to do. I was trying to get the nerve up to talk to him. I just knew if I could talk to him, we would be best friends. Michael, will you stand up? Gosh, this would be a great story if he was here. I never talked to him. I came out of a home that was very violent, full of terror. I had a lot of anxiety, and I just couldn't get the courage up to talk to him. I've always wondered what my life would have looked like had I done that. I was 20 years old. I thought I had all the time in the world. Within a year, I was homeless and I couldn't speak. So I had, you'll hear something a little bit here today, I have a speech impediment. And for 10 years, I could not speak at all. It took another 15 years to gradually get better and better to where I'm at now. My voice would be okay in the morning, then by 10 o'clock, I couldn't talk. During that 15-year period of time. So I really struggled with my worth, my value. I felt like the only thing I could do was to do physical labor, and that was the only value that I felt that I had in my life. For a lot of that time, I was struggling in my marriage. I felt lost and alone, and I always wondered if I had talked to that instructor. And at the time I lost my voice, I was a supervisor over a 10-man construction crew. I was yelling constantly over the sound of the compressors and nail guns. And I wondered if I hadn't been doing that job, would the strain on my voice have been less, and maybe it could have been manageable, something that I could have worked with. Well, back on my roof, I was contemplating this. I was lost in these thoughts, thinking about how my life might have been as I was sweaty and uncomfortable. But I was so lost in my thoughts, I was completely unaware that the panels of the roof were bowing underneath me. Here's a pro tip. If you're going to have a deep existential crisis like this, don't do it on top of a rickety old building. Now, I'm not famous for paying attention to little details like a change in hair color, where my wallet is, or on this day, remembering how gravity works. So there I was, rhythmically removing screws, oblivious of the danger. Then, as if on cue from the universe, God, and the devil himself, I pulled out the last screw. This is a 1-inch screw. It weighs around 3 grams. Now, the fact that this screw could hold that roof together should be a testament to the influence and the power that each of us can have in this world. Let me tell you something I wished I had known right before I pulled out that last screw. Everyone, in every decision you've ever made, did the best you could at the time with the mindset, the knowledge, and the emotional intelligence that you had at the time. Even me, 30 years ago, in that conference, due to my upbringing and what I was dealing with, I just didn't have the courage, but I did the best that I could at the time. Had I understanding of myself and not so frustrated and angry. Maybe I would have been more present and aware of my surroundings. Instead, I was now falling headfirst straight into the concrete. You might be wondering, was this the moment that my life flashed before my eyes and I got all the answers I was looking for and everything made sense? Not exactly. I was trying to figure out where the floor went, why the ground is trying to eat me. Then, as realization set in, I thought, oh, this makes sense. I accepted the situation, said, Jesus, take me. Luckily, my lizard brain kicked in, smacked me back to reality, and said, not today. Time seemed to slow down as I was battling for my life. I was flailing and kicking my legs, and at the time I thought it was a great idea to put the foundation for the new building under the one I was tearing down. I just forgot about another small detail. This detail was in the form of rebar spikes sticking 2 feet out of the concrete below. Flailing and maneuvering, I was able to barely miss 2 pieces of rebar. My arm and my shoulder were able to take the full impact, most of the impact of the fall, and my lower body was still moving. So I hit like this, and my hips came forward so that my feet almost smacked me in the back of the head. I ended up on my back. Looking up, I could see a blue sky with white clouds spinning in circles above me. This was it, I thought. I felt bad for the person that was going to find me, and I hoped it wasn't going to be a family member. I completely surrendered to the moment. I accepted it, and oddly, I felt at peace. I still couldn't breathe. Everything started to get blurry, and then faded to black. Finally, I took a breath. I was alive. I was in excruciating pain, but I was alive. I figured the pain was a good thing. I probably wasn't paralyzed if I could feel pain. Laying there on that concrete, I could see my phone. It was 15 feet away. It might as well have been 15 miles. I yelled, there was nobody close. I couldn't even begin to move for the next 4 hours, and then it would take me another hour to crawl over to my phone and call for help. Laying there in that pain, the greatest agony I felt was for all the things I hadn't done in my life. I wondered, had I been there? Had I been there for my kids? Had I done anything that anyone would remember? And had I fulfilled my purpose, what was my purpose? Like Amy talked about, wherever she went, I did pray in that moment. Yes, thank you, Amy. I did pray in that moment. And I didn't pray to be rescued. I didn't pray to live. I asked God for something, and I didn't even know what it was. I just knew I couldn't keep living the way that I was living. The reason I tell you this story is that luckily you don't have to have a traumatic event like this to have the benefit of a near-death experience. I have studied Shaolin monks who every morning they contemplate their own death. And they do this to be grateful for every day and to be present and live and make the most of every moment. Irvin Yalom, a psychiatrist, said that though the brutality of death kills us, the idea of death saves us. Jeff Greenberg, a social psychologist from Arizona State University, he led a collaborative meta-analysis. They studied over 100 different studies, and what they found was that the participants reminded of their mortality were 15 to 30% more likely to be, they had 50 to 30% greater empathy, more likely to help other people, and a desire to pursue meaningful goals in their lives. This is a practice that each one of us can incorporate into our lives. Every morning, think about your life. These monks, they actually go so far as to think of every possible way they could die. We don't have to take it to that level, but you can think about your life, and we don't know when it's going to end, but be grateful for everything that you have. When I was laying there and praying, no angels came. There was no burning bush. But for the first time in my life, I was honest with myself that I had to find a mission and a purpose for my life. After a week of being in bed, I got up and I ran into a neighbor, and he was in the army. And all of a sudden I felt drawn to serve in the military, and I have no idea why, but I knew that if I joined, I would get my voice back. And it was a really strange thought, but I just knew that was the case. I joined right after 9/11. I had amazing adventures and horrible experiences with a bunch of strangers who have now become brothers. Coming back from Iraq led me on a healing journey that has brought me here to you today. I'm still not as tall and as good looking as that instructor was all those years ago. And obviously I'm a lot older. But being here, I've come full circle. And I'm finally doing what I've always wanted to do. Take a deep breath with me. Just everybody breathe in. Breathe out. Think of your life. In 20 to 30 years, are you going to look back and wish you had done something different today? I keep this challenge coin in my pocket when I'm not dropping it on the ground. Anytime something scares me, I hold it and I squeeze it in my hand, and I think to myself, am I going to wish I could come back to this day and do this? Or on my deathbed, am I going to look back and be grateful for the thing that I did? I wish I could go back to that young man laying in the concrete and tell him all the great things that are coming. Remember, you must die. So make sure you live. Memento Mori. Thank you.
All right, Anne is up first.
Sean, good job!
Thank you.
I hate you even have to do feedback right now. The audience wants to soak in some emotion. So, good work.
Thank you.
But I really want to give you some feedback. So, I'm going to do it anyway. Okay, your visual aids, I mean, are awesome. I love the coin. I love the screw. I just built my own deck at my house. If anybody follows me on Facebook, they saw my story on that. So I know the power of a single screw. And so I love that. What I want you to do, though, is use those more fully, okay? So, okay, I gotta remember to tell you these other ones too. So what I mean by that is, maybe you can connect with me afterwards, I'll give you some ideas that maybe don't have anything to do with what we're talking about right now. But the screw, hold it up longer. Let people consider that while you're talking about you're pulling out the last screw. Let them consider that. I love how you said it weighs 3 grams. And you have a comparison for that. That 3 grams is the weight of a penny. You know, just something that is more everyday for most people. Most people don't know the weight of the screw because they haven't screwed in thousands of them. Or unscrewed in this case, right? So have a comparison there so that you know, oh my gosh, that was holding me up. Oh my gosh, what holds me up in my life that I don't door because I think it's so tiny, but it's holding me up. Let people really soak in the intensity of that while you're doing that story, okay? Because those visuals are awesome. Yeah, the other thing about dropping it, it says a lot to the speaker of what they're going to do with something that messes up. Something will just mess up. So we need to keep going on that. And then another thing is that I love that you did the pause, and you did it longer than was comfortable. Yes, that's a good example. But after you did it, you went like this. I know that is not the kind of breath you took. When you had breath, because the whole audience wasn't breathing in that moment, right? The whole audience was holding their breath. So you need to do this. You need to go, it needs to be that breath, so that they all go, okay? Because you can totally connect with them on that. Because that was awesome. But change how you do that breath. Make sense? Yep. And then another thing is you did this. You went, Jesus, take me. Which is great, except for you were headed this way. So Jesus, take me. Because then it would connect better with the story. Because up to that point, I was like, oh man, I wish he would put himself into the story right now. And then you did, and you turned, and I'm like, yeah, like that. But sorry, I get a little excited. Do that because you're already connecting. You're already, your experience comes. So I mentor people all day long every day. I teach, I speak. This is what I would do in my life too. And the problem I'm seeing in the world right now is so much that nobody feels like they have permission to own their value. They keep looking outside of themselves for their value. This is the trainings I've been doing for the last few weeks are all focused around that. And this experience helped you stand in your value. It helped you not need anything from anyone around you to substantiate your value. And that's what people need. And so all these things I'm telling you are just so that the audience can feel more of your emotion because you already have great emotion, Sean. So keep going, okay? Awesome. Great job. It was really exciting to watch you speak and to be able to witness this with you and for you to be so vulnerable. I love how real you were and your personality was in there, you were in there, and you let us see the emotion and those pieces. And a lot of SWAT guys wouldn't do that. And it was great to have you be real and authentic in that. I love your opening, and I loved the way you were able to just go right through dropping the coin as if it's every day. And that's what you have to do. When you are addressing the audience, you just keep going, you make light of it, and right back on it. And so we go on that. One of the things that I want to, and I'm not the body language expert, but the close off hands in front of yourself. You shared so vulnerably, and you shared your heart, and you shared your feeling and your emotion, and you closed off as much as you opened up, if not more. And you held your hands together right in front of your chest, and right in front of your center, where you're sharing from. So I would suggest that you go to a more open position. Secondly, no pockets. You can take your arms out of your pockets, but don't put your hands back there. And it's a normal, natural thing that we do, especially if we're nervous. And you have a body language expert sitting here. That's what we end up doing is out of habit, we go back to those things. So just practice not doing that and try to focus on what could you be doing with your hands. Because you had great gestures, you used the stage, you showed us different places you were at, you took us to those things, you told us you're laying flat on your back, you have a blue sky and white clouds spinning in circles. And if you had us there, but I want you to relate to the audience. How could you take them to that point in what they've experienced? How could you change the question? There was a lot of my, me, I, and they're all your stories, and it was phenomenal. But how many things did you do of like, when have you experienced when you were flat on your back, laying on the ground, you don't know try to bring them into a little bit more, engage a little bit more. I love the breathing technique, add more of that. So they really feel that emotion. I love your pauses. Getting a comfortable pause was awesome. But again, deeper breath. Bring more into it. You come across confident, but I don't believe you own your confidence. If that makes sense. You come across tough guy, I've done all these things, and that's the soldier part, that's the SWAT team, that's the tough guy stuff. I want to see that confidence and belief in yourself. I want to see that deep, just, own the stage, be confident, and value what you've been through. Value how much you're helping others. From your story to your 10-minute presentation, or 13.3-minute presentation, my life will change. Own that. Because when you come full circle to this point, and you're telling us that's what you're doing, I want you to own that. Because you are doing it. Way to go. Great job.
I say that you have two is because the coin, in and of itself, the Memento Mori, the coin is a powerful, powerful visual aid. So you bring it out, and then you put it back in 4 seconds later. I would, to Anne's point, play with that a little bit more so that the audience takes that. That's number one. The second one you have is the screw. The phrase that you said, do you remember what that is? Can you repeat that?
Yeah. This screw holding this roof together should be a testament to the influence and the power that each of us have in the world.
Okay, that's a TED Talk. Well elaborated, that's a TED Talk image stuff. Right? So it's ideas worth sharing.
Yeah.
So I would separate the two. Because they're both incredibly sharp, both incredibly compelling.
Yeah.
You put them together for discussion. I thought that you did it well.
Yeah.
I would actually separate those two into two different messages that can be explored. That would be number one. Also, you took a massive risk with this talk in throwing humor. In my opinion, the greatest public speakers in the world are stand-up comedians. Because it's so difficult to get everybody in the room to laugh. When you did the Michael thing, everybody was in cahoots. Like, that was phenomenal. And the only thing that I would say that is great, continue those kinds of things, because it makes your talk memorable. But immediately after you made everybody laugh, you said that your childhood was full of trauma and violence. So it's high energy, everybody's high, and then you say trauma, violence, like you went from really high to really low. So I would just be cautious of that transition.
Separate.
Yes, there's a concept called conversational threading, which usually is more applied when I'm talking to you to keep a conversation going. But for speakers, the conversational threading is how do you make a smooth transition? What I would do is something that you did later when you said, the reason I tell you this is. That's another veteran move. The reason I tell you this is. So I would try to add that when you have high energy. The reason why I tell you this is, and then you go. It's kind of like a soft